I am so excited to introduce our listeners today to Kathryn Parker. We're going to talk about how to develop good eating habits and a healthy lifestyle. Kathryn is a registered dietitian for Aviv Clinics, the first HBOT, which she'll explain, treatment center of its kind in North America dedicated to improving brain performance. Welcome, Kathryn.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. Let's dive right into, so you're a dietitian.
Mm-hmm.
Take us through your journey. Did you start out doing this right out of school, or where did this all stem from?
Actually, my first degree is in business administration. And I got my degree and I got a job and I got fat. And I went on a diet because that's, what you did in the 70s. And I got skinny. And then, of course, I went off the diet because that's what you do when you achieve your weight. And I ended up going on and off for an extended period of time. And, back then, overweight was not acceptable. It was very rare. And I just didn't understand. I never paid attention to what I was eating. I ate what my mother put in front of me. So I decided that I needed to figure this out. And so I went back to school, took a class in nutrition because I wanted to get skinny. And I really didn't understand what chemistry had to do with this. I just wanted to get in my skinny jeans. And so for 5 years, I studied chemistry, and it has absolutely been the most magnificent journey for me. When I got my degree, I was also a runner. I was training for a marathon. So I started volunteering with the University of Florida Athletic Association at a time right after Title IX became law. So I started working with the ladies and then eventually started working with the men. And I was there for about 12 years. I was a consultant to the ladies of the 92 Olympics, track and field. And then I ended up blooming into working in corporate and municipal wellness programs. And I worked with the city of Gainesville for about 20 years. I was a consultant, and then one contract led to another contract. And that's how I expanded my company. And then the last 6 years of my career, I was the program manager for diabetes education at the University of Florida. And then I retired, and I was happily retired. And then after 4 years of that, I said, I need to get out of the house. I'm too happy. I need to get out of the house. So I went to lunch with a girlfriend, and I told her that, I thought I would help the kids at the university, with the startup. They have a startup center there. And she said, well, actually, there's this company out of Israel that's just now coming to the villages, and they are doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy for brain injuries and cognitive decline. And I said, I'm a scuba diver since 1972. And my whole life has been spent avoiding a hyperbaric oxygen chamber because that meant I didn't read my tables right. I stayed down too long. I came up too fast. I got the bends. I was probably going to die. Anyway. So I said, tell me more about this. What are you talking about? And she was explaining the science to me. And I said, oh my God, that's the future of healthcare I want in. I don't want a paycheck. I want stock. I'll sweep the floors. I'll answer the phones. The best part of the story is she said, well, by the way, they want a dietitian. I said, oh my God, I think, let me find my license because it's in a box somewhere. So I found my license. I pulled it out. I was almost expired. And the rest is history. I mean, that's been my journey. You asked the question.
Yes,
I'm an old dietitian. I've raised 2 kids. I have 5 grandchildren. And so, I started because I got fat.
However, this whole journey, and I think the best part is that you came back out of work, this retirement.
Yes.
Because you're so passionate about this. You're not doing it because you have to. Like, you have so much passion behind this.
Yeah, I don't have to. And this is very different than anything I'd ever done. And so we're doing DNA sequencing here. We're getting total genome sequencing. We're finding out your susceptibility to nutritional deficiencies for micronutrients, macronutrients, and food allergies. And so I take that information. But the information that I use the most, that I think is the most important an informative thing that I can do is we use body composition. We use a SECA, and it tells me not only how much you weigh, how much muscle mass you have, water weight you have, essential fat, visceral fat. Oh yeah. And it tells me how much you weigh. So it's beyond the 3-digit number. Mm-hmm. And for folks who are concerned about their cognition, they absolutely need to be sure that that 3-digit number includes essential skeletal muscle mass. And that's related to cognition. It's related to independence. And a lot of people don't pay attention to that. They just weigh what they weigh, and they're concerned about body fat as we age. I think we need to be more concerned about our muscle mass. Yeah.
Interesting. Go back because you bleeped out for 1 second. You said it tells us about our cognition and it tells us about, and I think you might have said immune system.
Your muscles are related to your cognition. They're related to your risk of falling, and they're related to your immune system. They also boost your metabolism so we can mobilize some fat tissue that way. But I don't think we get enough emphasis. We've spent a lot of time talking about cardio, and I get it, and I agree with it. I really do. But when I see somebody who's great in cardio and weighing what we think they're supposed to weigh, but they have no muscle mass, I think, this is the 21st century, not the 20th. It's a hard sell. It's a hard
Interesting.
sell.
Yes. Let's keep going into muscles. And where did you come in? Like, what's your routine? Let's even start there. Where do you put your
I like to exercise in the morning. I'm a morning person, so I like to exercise in the morning. And all I want is coffee, black coffee, strong black coffee. And then at 10 o'clock, I'm hungry. I want something to eat, and don't talk to me. I want to eat because I get hangry. You know how that goes. And then I'll break my fast, my breakfast. You know, people will say to me, I don't eat breakfast. I go, yeah, you do. It's your break fast. It's your first calories of the day. So anyway, and so then I'll have yogurt with berries and nuts, different kinds of nuts, and mandarin oranges. And that gets me through till about 2 o'clock. And then I'm ready for something for lunch, whatever is available. And I really try to avoid the processed foods if I can. I'm not perfect. I gave that up a long time ago. It made me cranky. Mm-hmm. And then in the evening, I have 2 glasses of red wine. And I have my dinner, which usually is some leafy greens or chicken or fish and whatever. And I like chocolate. So,
and I love that you're stating all this because it covers everything. Like we can have a little red wine. We can have a little chocolate. Like there's not this black and white thinking at all. I want to go back as well to, you mentioned, so are you investigating, you said food allergies as well? Like, are you doing some of these food sensitivity panels? And
no, it's a spit test. It's a sputum test. And we send it to a lab in Italy, and they do total genome sequencing. And then they'll come back and they'll tell me if you're susceptible for a gluten allergy, lactose, egg, certain kinds of seeds, certain kinds of nuts, certain kinds of fruits and vegetables, additives to preservatives. It'll tell me about walnut and kiwi, and it just kind of breaks it down that way. It varies from client to client. You cannot look at a client and say, oh, they're going to have a blah, blah, blah. I have used it on clients that have very serious GI problems, where I will say, all right, here's what your genes, here's what your genetics tells us. Let's eliminate all these foods from your diet and get very basic. Very basic. Let's calm down your GI tract. And then we're going to add one of the offending foods back, and we're going to see what happens. And if you have a reaction, that food's history, gone. If you don't have a reaction, then we add another food and we slowly rebuild your diet. Then later on down the road, if you have a flare-up, you know what to do. You know, this is what we need to start with. I need to rest my GI tract, and then we start adding the foods back. I have used that successfully on a lady who was quite sick, and it worked really well. And it was helpful to me because I wasn't in the dark. I felt like, okay, this is what they're saying. So it was helpful.
Yeah, I feel like you've been through this as well, but doing like something like the elimination diet where we don't have that initial something to look off of, and we are just kind of saying eliminate and guessing as it's coming back in. My question to you is, I feel like I come up against this. It's not scientifically evidence-based yet. So not everybody's on board yet, except I see a place for it. And you obviously see a place for it. How do you combat this other type of thinking?
Well, I always tell myself to keep myself focused. My job is to inform, not enforce. I am telling you what we think is the way it is. And you take the information and do with it what you want. I really think that I just want to be a resource. I don't want to be the be all end all. It's not my job.
I love that. Yes. If you want me, use me. If not,
Right.
it's okay.
And I'm not going to know all the answers. And I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know the answer to that. But if it were me, blah, blah, blah. But it kind of just depends.
Sure. And I feel like dietitians can be great referral sources too. If we don't know the answer, we're going to help
Yeah.
figure out where to put you next so you don't
We
feel
don't know
lost.
the answers to everything, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, okay, so back to this, you get this visual of where you think you should start. You are working with clients like this virtually, correct?
We
Or
did during COVID, but no, I'm face to face.
you are face to
Yeah, I'm
face.
face to face with them. Their program is a 3-month program where they're breathing concentrated oxygen 5 days a week for 2 hours, and they have appointments with me before or after, and they have appointments with neuropsychology, with physiology, with physical therapy. Just depends upon what they're here for. And so I have clients that I'll see once a week or I'll see them once a month. It's kind of up to them, but they are here every day for 3 months. So I have great interaction with them, and I can talk to them about other things other than just, the most typical role is that they only come in to talk about food, and that's it. And then, our encounters, and we're beyond that. We talk about food, but we also can talk about other things because we see each other all the time. So it's a really relaxed, kickback kind of atmosphere. It's it's great. It's the best job I've ever had. And I'm 67. So I can say it with much authority. This is the best job I've ever had. I love it.
Oh, that is so awesome. I want to be that. I want to love my job still and doing it because I want to be doing it forever,
Yeah,
not because.
yeah. I think the best thing that ever happened to me was getting fat.
It just made you go down a path of discovery.
Yep.
I want to hear more about the chamber and why this is such an integral part of this business.
Oh, wow. So about 15 years ago, Dr. Shia Fradi was given the funding to disprove the value of hyperbaric oxygen, and he couldn't. He tried, and he couldn't, because what he was seeing and experiencing with his clients and for his patients was just, you couldn't ignore it. So 15 years ago, they started to do the research. And what they learned was there's a thing called, it's a HIF, where you breathe concentrated oxygen for 20 minutes. You're breathing 1,700 pounds of oxygen for 20 minutes. You take the mask off, and now you're breathing room oxygen. And then you put the mask on and you breathe it again, and you take the mask off. And that fluctuation in concentration of oxygen is perceived by your body when you take the mask off. Oh my God, there's not enough oxygen. You don't physically feel anything, but your body senses, oh, there's not enough oxygen. So it stimulates your stem cells. And your stem cells are blank cells. They can become anything your body needs. Brain cells, heart cells, muscle cells, liver cells, blood cells. We all have them. And so that time off the mask, your body thinks, oh, I don't have enough oxygen. And so they figured out mathematically and through their research in Israel that 60 sessions, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week is the magic formula. And what happens is your stem cells start to take off and you repair internally. While you're in the hyperbaric oxygen, you're given an iPad, the only place in the world where the iPad is inside the chamber. Under pressure, you're breathing 100% oxygen. You're playing games. And those games were designed by our neuropsychologist based on your brain scan. And your brain scan tells us where your boo-boos are. They tell us what part of your brain is not getting enough oxygen. So the games are designed to stimulate that part of your brain to carry the stem cells and the oxygen to that part of your brain to create new blood cells. So if you have a stroke and you've lost that area of your brain, you have senescent cells that kind of outline that. They're dormant cells, but they can become alive again through the dissolving of the oxygen through the tissue, you create new tissue and you repair your internal issues. Now, right now we're scanning, we're objectively showing the head, but we see some other things happening everywhere else, in the body, but we're not really measuring that yet. I think down the road, maybe in 5 years or 10 years, they'll do the whole body. It's fascinating.
Okay, so let's talk like dementia or Alzheimer's for a moment.
Yes.
Does that has a place
Yes.
in this?
Yes. You got to get it early. Got to catch it early before there's too much senescent cells and you have too much damage. But yeah, we can figure out what part of your brain is missing the oxygen and then get you to play those games. The games are not easy. If you conquer the games, then I call it the gremlin, goes in at night while you're sleeping. And tomorrow, the game, you have more fish or more cars and everything's going faster because it's all to keep that part of your brain screaming for oxygen. So, it's amazing.
I have not heard of this. Is it the closest thing that you've heard of lately of feeling hope with dementia, with Alzheimer's, as far as like actually seeing?
Well, with Alzheimer's, you've got to catch it at the beginning. You got to catch it really early. If you are late stage Alzheimer's or dementia, it's too you waited too long.
No, I'm glad that you do keep saying that. I agree. But for that family who's going, are we starting to see something? Like this is a really valid something to go investigate.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and especially if you have, now our research is coming in from Israel on this, but we have scientific papers that have been peer reviewed that talk about post-traumatic stress, PTSD, concussions, TBIs, where we can actually show improvement. People that have strokes, we can show improvement in the brain tissue, new pathways in the brain. And people that have a hard time walking can improve in that. I don't want to make any false expectations. We have video of clients that came to us in a wheelchair and left walking.
Wow.
So I in my heart, I honestly believe this is the future of healthcare. So my job as the dietitian is to be sure that you are well hydrated because we are flooding you with oxygen. And you are an American. You are chronically dehydrated. It's a given, okay? And so I'll calculate how much fluid you need, and then I will encourage you to make sure that your blood is supposed to be 90% water. So my goal is to help you stay well hydrated so that oxygen can get where it needs to go. And I tell people, I don't want any traffic jams on my highway. I want clean travel, right? So if you have high blood sugar, my interest in the experience in diabetes management comes into play. So I'll help you with your blood sugar management. If your cholesterol is too high, your blood pressure is too high. So I help clients with that.
And where are you based out of again?
We are based out of the Villages in Florida.
Okay.
Our parent is in Israel, Tel Aviv, Israel. Our twin opened about 7 or 8 months ago in Dubai. And we have our next location will be Manhattan.
I was just going to say, or anywhere else in the United States?
Oh, yeah, we're coming. We're coming. Just give us time.
I mean, I could picture someone literally traveling to Florida to get to you, but like you said, it's a 3-month commitment.
Yes. We've had several people from California, Texas, the Hamptons, and I think it's Monrovia, or it's the United Kingdom. We've had people come over from the United Kingdom too.
And what is the cost behind something like this? Is it?
Well, right now the cost is $45,000. The price will go up to $50,000 next year. The results from Israel show us that the results last 2 years. It may last longer, but they stopped the study at 2 years. So if you think about what you pay for a car and how long that lasts, it's a good investment in yourself. A lot of our clients, they're not used to, investing in themselves. They have these high-end jobs where they're used to producing and taking care of, and now it's time for them to take care of themselves. And so
Yeah.
and it's just 3 months out of the rest of your life. It's a good investment in your most valuable asset. And your most valuable asset is your health. Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. Oh, so good. What am I not asking here? What types of healthy food can cause brain fog, and what type of food is often missing from your patients' diets? Both of these.
Healthy food is not going to cause brain fog, because the healthy food, the colorful food, the high fiber foods feed the microorganisms that live in your lower gut. Those are the good bugs that feed the good bugs, and the good bugs make serotonin, dopamine, melatonin, noradrenaline, and through your vagus nerve and your enteric nervous system sends the messages to your brain. And so it's not going to cause brain fog if it's good food. Where we get into trouble as our society, and remember, I've been a dietitian since 1981. In the last 50 years, we haven't really increased our intake of healthy food. We have dramatically increased our intake of highly processed food that you find in vending machines. And because I don't want to get into trouble saying products, I just want to say that if it's been processed and it's in a box or it's in a bag, okay, if it's been processed, it's probably not going to be very good for you or your brain. The good food is going to be in the perimeter of the store, this kind you can touch and squeeze, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's going to be the food that you process. So an example I use with my clients is when you eat an apple, it goes into your stomach. It is not in your body. It is in your stomach. Your stomach processes that apple into fiber, vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, antioxidants, phytochemicals, and sugar. That sugar is not going to get you in trouble because, first of all, you're not going to eat 6 apples, but you'll eat 6 cookies. No question. All right. You'll eat a bag of chips, but chances are you won't eat as many potatoes as it took to make that bag of chips. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so chemically, it's all about chemistry. It's all about what does your body recognize this chemical? What is it? And highly processed carbohydrate foods are very palatable, very easy to digest, and don't give us much. And when we look at food trends, that's the food that we have increased our intake in significantly. And of course, the trans fats and all that stuff that went along with frying those foods to make them crispy and crunchy. And that's where we're getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
As a society. Yeah. And they're everywhere. And we get subliminal suggestions all the time that we should be eating these foods. And we really don't need them. We think, well, your dopamine receptors light up and say, where is it? And biologically and physiologically, we want to eat something.
Right. While we're talking about more whole foods and the importance of whole foods, why a whole food versus taking a supplement?
Do you have enough time? So biologically, we're not programmed in the last 50 years. A lot has changed in our industry. And biologically, we are not designed to take pills. We are designed to eat. That's why we have teeth. You don't need teeth to take pills. Okay. So biologically, if you can't absorb the nutrients from your food, you're not going to be able to absorb them from a supplement because it's the same absorption site. Okay. So let me ask you a couple questions because you're really just a warehouse. You're just a chemical warehouse under your skin. What happens when you take in too much sugar?
We get zingy.
Right. What happens when you take in too much salt?
Feel bloated.
Right. What happens when you take in too much calories?
Feel full or lethargic.
Right. Plus you gain weight and you take in more calories than you need. It's all about what you need. Okay. So if if too much sugar causes you to feel weird, and for some people it causes obesity and it causes their blood sugars to go up and it causes insulin resistance. If too much sodium causes you to have high blood pressure, if too many calories cause you to gain weight, what if you don't need these supplements? You're taking in more than what your body needs and it has to do something with it. And I think it really overtaxes your kidneys because your kidneys have to filter all this stuff and your liver has to detox all this stuff. We don't need much food biologically. Biologically, we don't need as much food. The hunters and gatherers, which is where we came from, have you ever hunted for your food? Ever? Have you ever done that? Let me tell you, I did that when I graduated. I hired an Indian woman and me and two of my friends foraged for our food for one whole day. I never knew that it would come back to me now. We literally dug down and got the roots and we pulled the berries. And I kept thinking, dear God, please don't let a bear show up because I don't know what to do. I'm a city girl. I don't know what to do with this. And we literally foraged for our food all day. It wasn't much food. I thought, all that work for just this. But we made it and we ate it and we did fine. So we've been advertised to, and yes, I appreciate the fact that not all the food is grown on the same field and, all that stuff. But the recommended dietary allowances have a 20% buffer added to them. So you don't need 100% and you don't need it every day. It's recommended dietary allowances. And that's pretty much designed to win wars. We don't want our soldiers starving in war. And so what do people, biologically need? People can go days without food, but you can't go days without water. Water is the most important nutrient. So in our quest to get a handle on our eating, I think we're bombarded with advertisements. We're driving on the road. We see all these billboards. When I was a kid, those billboards had Joe Camel and the Marlboro Man on them. Now they have all this food and beverage and stuff that subliminally I'm thinking, I need to eat something because that's how my brain works. Everybody's brain works that way. So to your point, I'm not a fan of supplements. I'm a fan of D3 supplement because most people can't get it in their diet. But the diets that I have analyzed, and I've analyzed hundreds of diets, and I put it into a national database that was created by the National Institute of Health and the American Cancer Society. It's got all the foods in it. I answered the gazillion questions. It takes me about an hour to do a 2-day analysis, 2 days worth of eating. It takes me about an hour to analyze it because of all the questions it's asking me. And I am amazed when I get the results of the reports, when I throw in a handful of dark green leafy vegetables, mixed salad greens, I throw in calcium fortified, vitamin D fortified orange juice, and I throw in a handful of mixed nuts, just a handful of mixed nuts, how all the values go normal. I am not making this up. They all go normal. And I think nobody needs supplements. They just need to eat these foods. And it's kind of basic nutrition, actually.
Right. Which I love that it always comes back to that. And I think that's a little boring for people to hear that.
Sure.
Because we're not
it's not
offering.
Sexy.
Yeah, it's not sexy. And we're not offering some like woohoo. It's eat good, normal, like grown food and your body will love it. Yes. But I think it's also inspiring because it lets people know it's like that release of overwhelm to go, okay, I really do just need to food guide pyramid it, eat my servings of vegetables, eat my fruits, and my body will really appreciate it.
Yeah, your fruits and vegetables will never hurt you because you will get tired of chewing before you eat too much of that stuff.
I love that. Yeah.
Just if you want to analyze your own diet, start with, am I getting enough water? And finish with, is this processed? Because if it's processed, chances are that's what you need to change. You don't need to change the real deal. If you're the factory, you're getting all the goods.
Yeah, no, that's good. So again, like low hanging fruit, it's a lot for people to go, what if I'm eating too many processed foods? Or like, I think we can kick people into scared mode, but at the end of the day, start with water is what I'm hearing from you. And then just start to change things little by, and every change will make a difference.
Yes. And watch your serving sizes because The last 40 years, we have supersized everything. It started with 2 burgers for $2, and the rest is history. That was in 1992. And then when with the 2 burgers for $2, then we had to increase the size of the fries, and we increased the size of the drink. And for 700 more calories, it's only going to cost you 30 cents. And we bought into it. And we didn't understand the biology and the physiology of what was getting ready to happen. And it sort of became the norm. So I just tell everybody, you pick what you're willing to do, but keep it to the palm of your hand. If it fits in the palm of your hand, that's your serving. If it's a child, that's their serving. And so if you back off, if you want M&Ms, palm of the hand. Yeah. Good luck with that one. But that's you're not going to get in trouble that way. It's when we sit down and, eat the massive volume. So we just need to change our relationship with food.
Yeah, I agree. What am I not asking you that you would like this audience to know?
Well, the average woman, by the time she comes to see me, has been on 61 diets. The average woman between the ages of 15 and 65 in America has been to the doctor 375 times, got a 3-digit number. If that same woman has a scale at home and weighs herself 1 time a day, maybe more, 5 days a week, maybe more, 50 weeks a year, maybe more, for 50 years, she has weighed herself 12,500 times, and all she got was a 3-digit number.
Wow.
Okay, so you take the 12,500 times plus the 375 times she's been to the doctor and got a 3-digit number. And I come up behind and go, I don't care what that 3-digit number says. I want to know how much muscle mass you have, because you may not have enough muscle mass to get through the rest of your days independent. And it's hard. It's a hard thing to sell to a woman. A man is all over it. I need more muscle mass. Bring it on. What do I need to do? And I tell a woman, I want you to eat 250 more calories a day. And here's what I want you to think about eating. And then that combined with the strength training program. And they absolutely shut down and go, no, you're going to make me fat. I go, no, I'm not. I'm not going to make you fat. I mean, how would I stay in business if I made you fat, right? But it's all that emotional attachment to that scale and that 3-digit number. I mean, I had a client tell me she woke up in the morning when she had an appointment. She weighed herself. If she weighed more than 150 pounds, she canceled the doctor's appointment because she didn't want to be evaluated. So there's a whole lot of psychology that's attached to that number. And I think that's what gets people in trouble with their food. We've lost the joy of simply eating the food we like.
Oh, yeah. So much emotionally attached to that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for honing in on the point of building muscle mass, that it becomes a functional thing for us down the road, that we can live a higher quality life if we follow this route.
Keep in mind that when you stress the muscles through exercise, they release 3 types of hormones that talk to your hippocampus. You don't stress the muscle, you're not getting the messages. You lose muscle, you're not getting the messages. And over time, people, I don't know if I ate, I can't remember. Well, and you don't have any muscle mass either. And it all is it's all coming to fruition here just because of the technology that we have to measure these things. Yeah. And it's very important that the ladies change their relationship with the scale.
I love that. I stand on that too. So thank you. It's nice to hear it out of somebody else's mouth. Is there any last minute things, if you could wrap your arms around our listeners, what would be like please hear this out of me today? I know you've already given us a lot of wisdom, but any last minute tips?
Yeah, my soundbite would be, you're more than a 3-digit number.
Mm-hmm. So
and enjoy your food. Enjoy your food.
Enjoy your food. Yes. Thank you for joining us today, Kathryn.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.